processes that you went through being on our show. And I'm grateful for everything that you've shared with the listening audience today.
So as I said, I'm sure it must have been like a God thing. For me, I believe in, I'm a Christian, so I think it must have been a God thing, really. I, as I said, had this nudge, this niggle that kept coming back saying, maybe you need to just stop drinking for a little bit, just stop for a little bit and see. And then I had this sort of, the truth will set you free kept coming back to me. And
I saw that.
And I thought that, it was really interesting. And so I decided to stop for 21 days, and it was part of a sort of church fast type thing. We give something up, and I thought, okay, I'll stop for 21 days. And over those 21 days, little things happened. So I discovered that there was a whole community of people that had chosen not to drink. It is a choice. You don't have to, you don't have to hit rock bottom to stop drinking. And there were a load of people who were talking about being alcohol free and how amazing their lives were, and talking about this pink cloud that you experience, and which is like euphoric feeling that you experience about, well, it depends, but 3 to 6 months into not drinking, and talking about all the things they'd achieved since they stopped. And I was just fascinated by that. And then I discovered a podcast, which I just listened to the episodes, and it was just fascinating because I said it wasn't about the not drinking is obviously a part of it, and it's not easy I'm not sort of saying it's an easy thing for everybody. It's not easy for everybody. But once you get past that, it's your whole life ahead of you. Everything changes. And so I discovered this podcast. And then the real one for me was I'd been drinking water and tea and coffee for like 2 weeks or so. And then I think I might have read about it, alcohol-free drinks, and I hadn't really thought about it. I used to like champagne, I used to like gin and tonic, and there was this thing called, there were these alcohol-free drinks, and I thought, okay. And what I didn't appreciate was over the summer, someone had given me a bottle of alcohol-free fizz. It was like alcohol-free champagne. No alcohol in it, sugar, very, very low sugar content, gluten-free, vegan-free, all very healthy, and or vegan. People can drink it if they're vegan. And I remember taking it and looking at it and thinking, why have you just given me a bottle of alcohol-free, non-alcoholic? Why have you given me this? Anyway, I'd stuffed it in a cupboard, only to realise a few months later that this was the best fizz, alcohol-free fizz that exists, basically. And so I rummaged through my cupboard, got to the back of the cupboard, pulled out this bottle, and I was like, oh my goodness, how does that happen? No way 3 months ago would I have thought I'd be drinking this thing. And so I put it in the fridge, and I had a girls' night, and obviously we were in lockdown at the time, another lockdown. The girls had said they meet up, and normally we'd all have a glass of fizz, and so everyone had their glasses online, and I poured this, and everyone thought I was drinking with them. So for me, it was all about keeping the ritual, but changing the ingredients,
Wow.
which is a phrase I should attribute to Janie Lee Grace, who I learnt it from. But she, that phrase has stuck with me, because actually, if I can still celebrate and commiserate and do all of that without the alcohol and have a much better life in terms of health-wise and self-care and looking after myself, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? You don't need it. The alcohol, people say, oh yes, the grapes or the antioxidants in wine help you. No, they don't. Just have a grape. Don't have the alcohol. You don't need it.
Go get a bunch of grapes.
So yeah,
Oh,
that's my thing. And I think it also allows you to discover your passions, which you don't actually realize. Alcohol becomes this thing where you don't realize it, but it's probably taken up more time and space in your mind than you give it credit for, because every, at a certain time or at a certain day of the week, that's what you do. And then you think about, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to drink? Who am I going to go there with? What, and it takes up a lot of your sort of mental capacity. And you also realize that people do it to numb out things like stressful days, and if they feel anxious, they think a glass of whatever their favorite beer or whatever it is going to help them relax. It's going to help them end the day and not worry about things. But the other thing you're doing is you are numbing out that pain, but you're also numbing out any joy as well. So your passions and the things over time, and it's an addictive substance. So it's not to do with the person. If you drink alcohol for long enough, it's going to start impacting you. And I think just by taking it away and remembering the sort of things that you liked doing and finding your passions, you realize there's so much more you could be doing as opposed to drinking. So for me, it's become running. I hadn't run since I was at school, so I was like 15 or 16, and I started running 2 years ago, and since then it's become a huge passion of mine. I've run 2 half marathons. Well, no, I've run 4 half marathons now, but 2 official sort of races, and I'm doing the London Marathon in April. And if you'd asked me 3 years ago, would I be running the London Marathon, I would have been like, you're crazy, that's not going to happen. And so that's one of my passions that I've really discovered that I used to be quite good at and used to really enjoy, but hadn't done for many, many years.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Yes. So I love what you said. I love all of what you've spoken. And early on, there was something that you had mentioned about, I think you call them Nigels, or what was that term that you use for when you were talking about how either said Nigels or Niggles?
Nudges. A nudge. Yeah, a nudge, right. A niggle. Yeah, sort of a feeling in your stomach, or a feeling that in your gut is telling you something. Yeah, that actually is. Yeah, I love that. So originally, last year when we created this podcast, it was all based off of a scripture. It's in the book of Proverbs, or Ecclesiastes. I think it's the 9th chapter, 11th verse. And towards the end of that verse, it states time and chance happeneth to all man. All mankind have time and chance, so the race isn't given to the strong nor to the swift. It's not bred to the wise. But all the way at the end of this verse, it talks about how time and chance happens to everybody. And I listened to your story and I'm like, these were all just these subtle movements or words, or just, it was like this guiding hand that was saying, yes, hey, listen, I'm not going to tell you to stop, but maybe you ought to investigate this. Yeah. And then you mentioned that 3 months before this even happened, like you ended up with this bottle of fizz, non-alcoholic fizz. Yeah. And so there's a scripture, it's written many times in the scripture where God would say something like, I tell you today so that when it happens, you'll know that it was from me. Yeah. And it was like that bottle was in your house to let you know when the day came that this was always the plan, but it's on your time. It's your choice. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I love that. And it's true. It does feel like it was guiding me to something bigger and something different, and really being the person that I'm meant to be. And I think one of the things that not drinking allows you to is to really discover who your authentic self is, and to be very comfortable in your own skin and be very comfortable as your authentic self, and not actually worry about what people think or what people are going to say or fitting in or anything like that. It's a freedom. It is a freedom. So, yeah. I'm
That's
very
big
grateful.
too. Yeah, I am very grateful as well. Very grateful that we're having this conversation. Dupe. I'm sorry that I had to. It was like, thank you. So, it just came all the way back full circle to the beginning of our conversation. But I'm very, very grateful as well because, like what you're doing in this gray area is so important, because, things are black and white, but then they're not.
Yeah.
It's like it's black, it's white, but then it's not. And what do you do when it's not? And to have this type of success in the gray area means so much, because it's one thing when you hit rock bottom and it's like, oh, everybody knows you needed help. Everyone else can continue to drink, but you can't. No, not you. You can't do that because you go crazy. Can't nobody be around you, or or when you've just started, it was just your first drink and it's like, oh, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. And so those two spots are easier to deal with or to rationalize with as a human being.
Yeah.
But when you're in the middle and things are going well, this is one of the most difficult times in life to make a change. And to recognize an opportunity to have a stronger, more beneficial lifestyle.
Yeah.
Even when things aren't really at their worst.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it enables you to just cope with life, whatever life throws at you. You have such you're so grounded and conscious of everything, and you don't need to. It's a go-to, isn't it? It's a sort of an easy way to deal with life by grabbing a drink. You could say, I'm having a really crap day, so if I have a glass, it's going to just calm me down. I'm going to feel relaxed. But actually what you do by not drinking is you then start building tools that enable you to cope with when you're angry, when you're lonely, when you're tired, when you're hungry, when you're fearful. You build those tools, and we call it sort of an alcohol-free toolkit, which then allows you to not have to automatically go for a drink, because that's your only, from a knowledge perspective, that's all you know to do if you're feeling like that. And it's an absolute choice. People need to give themselves permission to know that they can change and they can do something different to the norm. And actually, if you're waking up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. wondering, why did I have that drink, or berating yourself, you might want to just explore becoming alcohol free and see whether that is something that could be helpful to you. And if you're thinking, if you're Googling, am I an alcoholic, then maybe explore becoming alcohol free. Am I drinking too much? They're the common sort of things. And society is telling you, as you said, society is telling people you haven't got a problem unless you hit rock bottom. And so anyone who sort of is in the middle and just thinking, but I'm not feeling great, or I'm not quite feeling like I'm being my full self or living my best life and reaching my full potential, you're allowed to question it and think, maybe let me try this for a little bit and see what happens.
That's very good. So it's not always that about hitting rock bottom, but it's about hitting your full potential, your full stride. Yeah. And sometimes we don't recognize that. I hear the word dependency keeps on coming up in my mind. And I was thinking about how, in a way, the way that our conversation has been going is that the alcohol can create this dependency. You mentioned, if you're down, or if you're out, or if you're having a rough day, and I recall that, and smoking weed, as a matter of fact. Instead, that was like my thing. I had to get home. Got to light me up another one. I always had to have another one, you know. And so that was my go-to. But I recognized, you know, at some point in time, I was like, I'm giving it all up. And for me, it was also a God thing too. That's what it was for me. So I definitely resonate with you because it was a God thing. And because it was a God thing, it changed like that. You know, there wasn't any real looking back. I just had made this shift, and for whatever the reasons are, I guess I could dissect it. I just continued to move forward, and I felt the things that you're talking about. Like you're talking about me. You're talking about my transition, you know? And so when I thought about it, I was like the dependency, which I'm listening to, I'm like, this is not just alcohol.
No.
This
you
is
can apply it to anything.
Anything that you are dependent on. This could be a relationship, a bad relationship with a man or with a woman. It could be a bad relationship with your employer. You know, it could be so many different things, because I mean, people go back to work and they know that they're being treated wrong. They're mistreated. They're not paid enough. Nobody really cares for them to be there. And they could leave that. They could leave it, not because they're giving up the job, but because they're allowing themselves to be the greater version of themselves somewhere else. They have to put the crutch down.
Absolutely. And it's so easy for you to stay stuck, and to your point, probably not even appreciate that you're stuck, and or that there's an issue. You know, it could be applied to anything. It could be applied to sort of shopping excessively, to sugar, you know, anything really. And as you say, if it's a dependency, then think about it differently. And I think the question is to ask yourself, with your thoughts, is it true? And question them. Question those thoughts.
That's a great question. That is a great question.
Yeah.
That is a great question. You have these thoughts that, like you said, you were saying, you know, if you're searching about alcoholism online or whatever it is, then here's your question. Is it true? You know?
Yeah.
But do you remember Michael Jackson, right? Of course.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah. I had tickets to his concert, his final concert, just before he died. I was meant to see him in Wembley. And was it Wembley? I think it was Wembley. Yeah, I had tickets for that final concert. I remember being on the phone forever trying to get those tickets. And then, yeah, bless him. Yeah, he passed away. So yes, yes.
Did you save the tickets?
I did. Yeah, I've got the tickets in the program somewhere. Yeah.
No, you probably got like $10,000 tickets right there inside somewhere in your house.
I should probably look, shouldn't I? They might be worth something now. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I grew up with Michael Jackson. Yeah. So definitely know Michael Jackson.
Well, that was one of his songs that just came to my mind when he would say, "I'm looking at the man in the mirror."
Yeah, my favorite. Yes, I have been known to sing karaoke to that song.
Yes, Anna, throw some words up on the screen. Let's close this thing out the right way. Get us some Michael Jackson. Throw it up on the screen. Play some music. Let's go.
Oh dear, yeah. No, I love that song. I mean, it really is. You know, it's a classic song. But you're right. The words of that are, yeah, it is, and it is. You know, if you do want to make a change,
yeah,
I won't start singing. Don't worry.
That's all right. I would absolutely love it. I may sing with you. I just happened to sing on my last podcast, and Anna was like, "What? Joel singing?" She complimented me. I don't know if that's because she's my teammate or if that's because I actually did well.
I'm sure it was wonderful.
Well, thank you. I'm Dupe. I love your name. I absolutely love your name.
Thank you.
You have such a great character. And I thought about that so frequently throughout this conversation. Like, I wonder who I would have been speaking with, prior to you giving up drinking. Would it have been the same individual? I know that I'm not the same person.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I always thought I was quite confident and quite, I thought I was authentic. I'd like to think I was still a nice person. But no, I definitely wasn't my full self now. And I'm so at ease, I think, with who I am. And that is that's just huge. It's really, as I said, freeing, and it's great, but very kind of you to say. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely appreciate this. So I'm hoping that, people will hear what you've said. Anna's reminding me of our time, so we want to get ready to close out. Sure. Is there anything that you would like to leave with the audience, and how can they reach you?
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm about to launch a new group program, actually, in Thrive Alcohol Free, which is very exciting. And so I'll be working with high achieving women who are questioning their relationship with alcohol, and really helping them to become the best version of themselves personally and professionally. And so I'll be showing, if anyone wants to join, I'll show you how to ditch drinking for good, how to really embody your new alcohol-free identity and find lasting joy so that you can really thrive alcohol-free. So if you're interested in that, please go to my website, thrivealcoholfree.com, and you can follow me on Instagram at thrivealcoholfree, where I post regularly with tips and little, hopefully helpful suggestions for anyone who might be looking to go on this alcohol-free journey. And if you are, I'm very excited for you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we want to keep that. We want to put that link in our description as well, so that we can help you.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much, Joel. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. So you got this opportunity to meet Dupe. She is absolutely amazing. I'm very grateful to have met her. I'm so thankful for this show because I get a chance to meet people like this where I wouldn't normally meet her. She's all the way in UK, and I feel like she could have been a sister to me, like we could have grown up for a few years together and just been like right on it together. She has a wonderful smile and an absolutely excellent way of speaking her truth and reality. And I'm just delighted to know that everyone has this opportunity to hear of the wisdom that she brings to the table. So no matter where you are, just remember, as much as it starts with you, it starts with me. Peace. Grateful for everything that you share with us.